Hi everybody, it's Pollo Del Mar, and I am here to say that if you would like to find out how I did this foundation, this contouring, watch this video. I'm going to be back in just a minute. Before I go into this tutorial, I want to remind you guys, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, as well as follow me on Twitter and like me on Facebook. You can find me at twitter.com/THEGLAMAZON as in Pollo Del Mar. That's the Glamazon PDM on Twitter, and like me on Facebook. That's facebook.com/Pollo Del Mar fans, and I'm going to spell that for you. That's POLLODELMARFANS. It's going to be on the screen for you guys. I'll be back in just a moment to show you guys how I do my contouring, but first I'm going to go shave up, and before we come back, I'm going to do the covering of my brows as I've shown you in my own makeup tutorials. You guys do the same. We'll reconvene in just a second. Hi everybody, I am back, and I'm going to start my tutorial now on how to do contouring, how I do contouring. I just want to make that very clear, how I do contouring. And there are so many different ways, and I've watched some other people and they are amazing. And when I'm able to replicate their style for you guys, I will show you that. In the meantime, I'm going to show you how I do it. Now here are the things we're going to need. I'm going to use some foundation colors. You've already seen most of these. These are all from Kryolan. And this one is a Dermacolor. This is a D65, which will be this area and along here in some of my highlight area. This is a 2W, and this is where I'm going to do under my eyes and over my eyes. As you can see, my eyebrows are still drying from the glue technique I used to conceal them, which I showed you in another video. And this is a 7W. This is probably what most people would consider the contour color. This is going to go under here and along an area of my face to create a dark outline and give it some depth. So I'm going to show you how we go about doing this. Okay, so those are the basic colors we're going to use as a foundation. There's some tools that we're going to be using. In addition to those, we've got some dry powders I'm going to be using. This is called Love Rush. It's from MAC Cosmetics. It's one of the few MAC products I actually use because I just love this color. This is a deep brown color from Kryolan. It's also, I often use it as an actual eyeshadow, but I also use it as a contouring color. This is a very cheap L'Oreal True Match powder that I also use. And like I said, I saw recently RuPaul tweeted that you find the makeups that work best for you. You look for color and coverage rather than the name brand and the price tag, because the price doesn't always equal out to the quality of the product. So there's that. I've got a series of brushes, of course. I'm going to be using my favorite little makeup sponges, right? You guys know I love these. Where? Walmart. $1.75 for 32 of them. And then I'm going to be using a variety of other brushes that you can see. None of these are fancy makeup brushes. If you want to go to MAC or to one of those other stores and buy a really, really nice set of brushes, they can cost you hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and if you can afford that, I encourage you to do that, but I can't afford it. And so we'll be using a lot of brushes, such as these, which came out of that $5 art set that I showed you guys at Walmart. Maybe something worth checking into. Now, let us get started. So the first thing that I do is I'm going to come along with a darker color on my neck. So this starts here. I go from ear to ear along my jawline, around. Remember that makeup is art, and in art, things that are darker look recessed or farther away from you, and things that are light look closer to you. So things that you want to make look plumper or fuller, for example, along here, you want to highlight those with a lighter color. Areas like your chin, which you may want to make look farther back. If you're like me, I have a slightly, I have a chin, but I don't want that droopy part right there to show. So the darker that is, the better off. So I'm going to come along that with a sponge. Buff it out just a little bit, down to the collarbone. All right, now you can see that I've got the beginnings. I'm not going to really show you how to reshape a face necessarily, but I will tell you that I have a very square jaw, and often if I want to make it look a little bit rounder, I can come up here and make it darker along here so that in photos, if I'm positioned properly, it will make my face look rounder, but I'm not really worried about that today. Now we're going to take this same color and I put it along my jawline. Because of the fact I do have a very square jaw, I'm going to come lower with my jaw around here because I want to create more of a circular shape for my face. And since, remember, like this darker part will make it look prominent here and then allow me to make this part look fuller by making it lighter. That's what I'm going for here. I also want to come along my hairline up here. This is going to help my wig line. All right, now I've adjusted the light. You can see along here where I've added the color and along my jawline where I've added the color. So now we're going to come along and we're going to blend this. Buff it out a little bit. Buffing it up into my hairline. I'm going to come down from right here, from my, like next to my eye. I'm going to pull that up and want that to be nice and dark. We're going to do this time my way, and then I'm going to watch a number of tutorials, and I may come back with a different video altogether on how to do this. We'll see, because as I've explained to you in past videos, this is how I do it now, but I'm still learning and growing just like you guys are. I hope that my drag never reaches a point where it becomes super stale, where I can just like whip out the same face every night. That would just be boring to me. I like the chance to play with makeup, learn what I'm doing, change it up a little bit. So I'm going to continue going now. I'm going to set this sponge aside because we may need to come back to that, right? So with a new sponge, I've got that one prepared. Now I'm going to come out together with this. This is a D65 color. I've seen people apply this with a brush. We're going to try it with a brush, and if it doesn't work, I'm going to go back to my old standby, which is Ghetto, but we'll see. So a lot of people use a foundation brush. It's providing decent coverage, but I'm going to go with my old standby. Forgive me if you don't want to do this at home. Get a brush. Do it your way. I find that a wonderful applicator is my finger. Now, with a new sponge, and come along here. What I want to tell you is something that's very important. I'm going to tell you right now. Often you will see people who have a thick facial hair or dark facial hair come over top of their facial hair with a red substance. That can be a red lipstick or a camouflaging cream that comes in a terracotta color. Those are strongly encouraged if you have thick facial hair and are using an over-the-counter makeup product from a Walgreens or someplace that's intended for women. The reason I personally am not using that in this video is because of the fact that Dermacolor from Krylon is a stage makeup that's intended for men and women, and it's highly pigmented. So that this makeup is actually, in its own right, considered, I don't know if you can see it, but it's listed as a camouflage system. In other words, this is so highly pigmented that it will cover up all of that facial hair on its own. So if you're watching at home and you have thick facial hair and you need to cover it, please look into using a little bit of red lipstick or a terracotta colored something to bring it over. Basically what happens is the reddish color of the lipstick or the terracotta neutralizes the deep bluish color of the facial hair under the skin, and it camouflages. Okay, are we clear on that? Now let's go back. I'm going to just continue buffing this out. Where the lighter color meets the darker color, pat along that, just because of the fact that just like when we were blending in the eye tutorials, we want to blend this color together a little bit too. We'll come back over it with powders later on. All right, back to the same color. I watched a tutorial by Petrolude, who is one of my drag icons in terms of makeup application. And how he does his foundation, it's wildly different. And of course, it's incredible, so it really makes me question whether or not I'm even doing this right. But what we'll do is you and I can go through this process. We'll get to the end, both of us. I'll look at my makeup, you look at your makeup at home, and we'll decide if this is the best application for us. If it's not, we're going to find a different way to do it in the future. But this has been working for me for a while, so I'm hopeful and optimistic that it'll work for you at home. I'm going to come along. I'm coming along the edge of the dark. Remember, I put the dark on, and I'm coming along the edge of it with this lighter color. I don't want to overlap too much. I just want to bring the two together, because ultimately what's going to happen is I'm going to come along with a sponge and blend these two colors together. And I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. But I want to come up. I come up high. Remember, I brought the dark down. I want to come up high into that with the light. All right. I just can imagine people are going to read my beads for the way I do this. However, I believe that makeup is however works best for you. So until I try something different, it works better. This is what's working best for me right now. So I'm patting and buffing and blending these colors together. Remember that dark color that we did the contour down here with? I forgot. We're going to put that along the sides of the nose. That becomes our contour color along the sides of the nose. And if you have a crooked nose, or you have a nose that's wider than you would like it to be, you can, by determining how wide you want the center stripe of lightness to be, let's say you have a wider set nose, and you want to make it look thin and very straight, I'll say like a Michael Jackson or a Janet Jackson. You can just bring the darker sides inward, and then just the part that becomes the middle is lighter. What I would warn you not to do, don't make that too light. Don't make that stripe in the middle too light. That is what my drag family and I call the trantelope. Like an antelope, I'm going to put a picture of one up. Like a gazelle or an antelope has that white stripe right down the middle of its face. We don't want that. We don't want to be the drag equivalent of that. No trantelopes. So, but you can do that a little bit, and it'll really shave down the width of your nose. Okay, let's keep going. I'm putting more darkness along here. I'm actually going to use a little bit of more of the dark color along the sides. Now we're going to come back. I'm pretty fortunate because I have a pretty straight nose to begin with. So I don't have to worry about that too much. But no nose is too perfect that it can't have a little bit of help, right? Now I'm going to take my 2W, which is my lightest color. This is my lightest contour color. This is the highlight color. And as I've shown you guys in the past, this is what I cover my actual eyebrows with, so that it masks the darkness the most. Put it over my eyelids. Underneath. There's a few things I would say while I'm doing this. If you are an individual who has already very feminine features, meaning if you're a man and you have soft feminine features, you may need less makeup to emphasize those than I have. If you are a woman and you're watching these videos, this much makeup is going to make you look, well, you're going to look like a clown who's turning tricks on the side. In other words, you're going to look like a prostitute who works at the rodeo. Don't do it, okay? Be conscientious. So the idea of makeup is to alter or enhance your natural aesthetic. And if you're a woman, you have to use less of this to achieve the same goal that we're using. But if you are a man, and you have soft features, you're still going to have to use similar amounts of makeup, but the way you apply it may be slightly different because you'll already have soft features. So, all right. I'm coming over this with a completely clean sponge. Buffing this out. I'm going to let it come in between my eyebrows. And I'm going to come up into the center area because we want to highlight our forehead. We're going to make a half circle. See how I've done that? I'm making a semicircle in this area. Just pat it out. We'll come back to that in a minute. Don't you worry, you're not going to have a circle on your head like that. Under the eyes, blend it down into the slightly darker middle area. Because I realized at home that I didn't mention this, but the colors that I've used are going to be gradually darkest, then getting lighter, and then the lightest. And then we're going to come over top of it and blend light into medium into dark, because that's what we're doing here. Now I'm going to take that sponge that I used on the medium color, and I'm going to come along the edges of that up around this circle, blending that out, buffing upward, just patting along it and buffing it ever so slightly upward. See, the harsh line has now disappeared as we pat it out. Now back to the lighter sponge. I'm just making sure I got all this area covered up nicely. I want to make sure I have a little bit of extra coverage. You can still see a little bit of my brows through. I'm going to just cover that. Give myself a completely nice blank slate to work with. An area that we're going to want a little bit of light coverage is right underneath our nose. So use that sponge. And then right on our chin. The one thing I would just want to remind you, remember when I told you that the key to most makeup is blending in a previous video? That's the case here too. We've got multiple colors of makeup together, and we want to blend them together so that you don't see harsh differences in the color. And that may take a little bit of effort. One thing that I've found that helps with this, if you are wearing an oil-based foundation, and these all on my face are oil-based, I take a clean sponge and a tiny little bit of water, like this, and I'm going to dip the sponge in it. I don't want it to be soaking wet, but it's going to be damp. And then I'm going to just pat it over the edges where they meet. Because of the fact that it's oil-based, it's just going to blend a little bit. It's going to help it blend and it smooths it out. Makes a very nice gradual color change on my sides of my cheek, which you may or may not be able to see at home, but it's there. Bring this moist sponge along any of the areas where the colors overlap. It's going to help you soften that a little bit. Before you try this at home, definitely make sure that you're using an oil-based foundation. Otherwise, you're just going to wipe it right off. Like if it's something that's not oil-based and you go to do this, boop, there goes your foundation. Okay, now we have a lot of this done. These are a variety of different colors to give us multifaceted and multi-layered foundations. Now we're going to begin to come in and add other colors to these. This is all done with our foundation. We're going to add colors, powdered colors on. The first thing I'm going to do is add in some naturally neutral Coty powder. Now remember, this is a very light color, and I'm going to put this under my eyes and over my eyebrows. All right, you'll see. This is sealing down my eyebrows and concealing the color. That's the first step. Seal and conceal, if you will. And now I'm going to bring it just under the eye, okay? I'm going to bring it down too far. Now I have a brush that I use specifically. It's a nice angled brush that I use on my area under my eyes. I'm going to start with the angle towards the center, and then I'm going to just sweep it down like this. Basically what I'm doing is embedding that in my eye while brushing it out away. And then I'm going to do the same above. You can see what I'm doing here. Brushing down and away, and then up and away. It's got a nice coat on there, color. I've also got it a little bit along my nose, and I really don't love that, but it's okay. Go ahead and put some more in. Remember, it's okay to play with this. If your makeup doesn't turn out the same way that mine does the first time, try it again, and try it again, and try it again. It's taken me 7 years to be able to learn to do most of this stuff. And every day, I'm still learning by trial and error and finding new ways to do things that are better or provide a different effect than the one I had the day before, and that's okay. Half the fun of life is the journey, not the destination. Playing with makeup, if you make the journey fun, if you enjoy sitting down like this, and watching a video and learning something new, it's fun. We can have fun together. Now I'm going to come along. This was just a cheap old brush. It's kind of rounded like this. You can see it. I'm going to use this to apply a deep color. That dark brown I showed you earlier, I'm going to apply it along the base of where my darkest color is. You can see how dark it is. Now I have this stippling brush. It's blunt, and I'm going to just come along that line, and I'm going to buff it up, like patting it at the edge and brushing upward. When you're doing it, you can even do this. Give you an idea of where you want your cheek to be. And take the same little brush, and I now have this burgundy color. It's called Love Rush. It's from MAC. It is my favorite MAC cosmetic color. With that, I'm going to come that into the same area. So now we got this nice brown, and now we're coming with a burgundy color. It's like more of a humanish, warm color. Pinkish, purplish, whatever. Coming along, you can see it. Stippling brush. Basically, we're blending the brown and the burgundy together. These are called the apples of your cheeks, right? Ta-da! I want a little bit of pinkish color there, so I'm going to smile. I'm going to use the same brush that I used to add the color, and we're going to slowly, or this is where we get to determine how wide we want our nose to be. I'm going to come along the sides of my nose very carefully. Don't do the trantallope. Do the trantallope. Do the trantallope. I kind of hit the end of my nose a little bit just because of the fact that I found in some video or some pictures, if I don't dull down the end of my nose, I end up looking like Pinocchio. I have a really, I don't know what's happening there, but all right. Then come along here. Remember, out kind of like out from the sides of your eyes. We put the darker color there too, so we're just going to reinforce it. Can you see that? Just right here. And right here. The temple area a little bit. Just a little bit. Now we're going to take that same Love Rush color, apply it on this brush. I'm going to come along basically along the hairline, where I'm imagining the hairline is going to be for me. This is also contour. So if you're wearing a lace front wig or a wig that's been what they call rooted, where it looks like it lays flat or grows out of your head, this is going to be very helpful. It makes it look much more natural. So we're going to come along the hairline, the potential hairline, just blend it in a little bit. Then we come along the chin line. A little pink along the edges. Now this is where the really inexpensive powder comes in, really handy. Put that on this brush. Powder it on the rest of my neck. Remember, giving your neck a nice little darkness, makes it look recessed. Maybe you are a little on the plus side, and you want to make your chin look more defined. This is how you do it. If you have, you can just have the same way that I'm making my chin look very defined, you can do that on yours too. I like adding a little bit of this up here too, just to along the hairline. So good, so good. All right. Now that we've buffed this out a little bit, I'm going to come in with this is where I get a little nervous. Recently, I have started using this very bright red color to add a little bit of extra color to my cheeks. And normally it's not something I would have done, but it was suggested to me by somebody I respect. I tried it. It turned out not bad. So, cheap little brush. Add some of this. We're going to work that in right here at the cheeks and up along the cheekbone here. I don't want to, see, I'm afraid it's starting to look a little boxy, and I don't like that at all. At all. So I've got that red brush, that angled brush that I put on my highlighter with. I'm buffing that out. We'll have a chance to come back to that in a moment. However, now I'm going to, this is the extra translucent coverage from Coty Airspun powder. This is what my go-to is basically for all of my translucent powder needs. Tapping some of this out. Now I'm going to apply this really generously to my face because I find that wherever the colors meet, if you bring this along here really thickly, you can help mute that out and buff it out in a moment. We're going to come along our trantelope. We're going to come along our nose. Down here on our chin. This is all areas where we need to really get nice coverage. This center highlight area, you want to keep that center and highlighted. You do have a nice highlight going on there, which is going to be great. And if it becomes a little too highlighted later on, we'll be able to come back with it with darker around it with a powder. But for now, I think it looks great. We're going to remember powder along where the dark meets the light, and that's fine. You can always blend back in. You can see how incredibly powdered down I am. So I'm going to use a big powder brush like this one. Luckily now my face is completely set. The makeup on my face is completely set. Some areas. Now it becomes about blending. We're going to use that stippling brush again. Wherever it looks harsh, just come along it, tap it out a little bit. Now I've added in a translucent on top of the colors that I already had in here. Just by adding that and buffing along it, I'm basically blending all those colors. Back to the angled brush, back to that naturally neutral, or, you know, remind you that basically what I'm saying here is we're going to go from a translucent into a lighter color powder. Use darker colors. You don't have to match exactly whatever tones that I'm using. Find the ones that are right for your skin tone. This is my light highlighting powder, and it's going to come along my eyes, under my eyes, down into the translucent, which I just set. We're getting really close to being done with our foundation and our contour, as a matter of fact. I hope you can see how went from having a very square-looking face to, when the light hits it, a very rounded look right here because of the angle I used. A very rounded look here. Buff this together a little bit more. Where the two meet. I am going to go do my eyes, paint the rest of my face. When I come back, you're going to see how this all works together to give you the final look. All right? I'll be back in a moment. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Here is the final product. Hey, sassy and sexy. Thank you for watching and continuing to watch. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel as well as follow me on Twitter. That's twitter.com/theglamazonpdm. TheGlamazon PDM, as in Pollo Del Mar. That's my name. And be sure to like me on Facebook. That's facebook.com/Pollo Del Mar fans. POLLODELMARFANS. I'm going to put both of those on the screen for you guys. Thanks until the next video. I look forward to seeing you then. Mwah!